Let's talk to Luis Garcia about this, shall we? Because we're 2 days away from Barcelona kicking off their campaign against Rayo Vallecano, and still players are not registered, Luis.
Yes, guys, and yes, Craig, they've been spending money like they have a lot to spend, but it should that arrive the moment where you have to think about if they are going to be able to register. A lot of news says that the 5 new signing players, they haven't been registered, and we are just 2 days away from the first game of Rayo Vallecano. So there is a lot of concerns around in the city, a lot of concerns from the supporters, but the people still believe that Laporta and the group, they are going to manage to finally register every single player, because everyone wants to see the new players at the Camp Nou in the first game. Of course, who doesn't want to see Lewandowski scoring the first goal at the Camp Nou? We are all expecting for that.
Yeah, it's just a reminder here. So it's the new signings and the players who have renewed their contracts or extended their contracts with the club. It's a weird situation to be in, isn't it, Craig?
Yeah, it's the top 5, isn't it? And I mean, I was watching a bit of yesterday, and I think, you know, obviously there is a clause in Kessie and Christensen's contract, I believe, that could result in them going on a free transfer for the second time. I don't think that will happen. 2 days to try and strong arm to try and come up with more money via the mechanisms that they've already used by selling rights or strong arming. I mean, they're not going to be able to strong arm Frenkie de Jong, I wouldn't imagine, in 2 days. That's part of it. So I don't know how they're going to get it done, but the way they're going about it with whatever they do with the rights and how they commercially raise money, I haven't got a problem with. Right? I'm not really into the finances, but I have got a problem from a player's perspective of people with bona fide contracts, whether it's your administration or not, bona fide contracts, and you're trying to strong arm them, you're trying to bully them, you're trying to destroy their reputation, their confidence, everything about their livelihood, to try and get them either out the door to take a wage cut and just make a mockery of their professionalism to be able to bring all these other players in. I've got a huge problem with that. And I'm talking about Frenkie de Jong, who did take a wage deferral. Not a cut, a deferral. He is due this money. He has a contract. I mean, if players want to take a pay cut at Barcelona, that's their own business. If it was me in my career and I was asked to take a pay cut, if it was to save some staff members behind the scene, yes. But I'm not taking a pay cut at Barcelona so you can go out and continue to splurge on these big stars. It's not happening. But unfortunately, what we're seeing is in particular with one player, Frenkie de Jong, and I don't know how he's going to handle this, they're trying to besmirch his reputation, and I go as far to say almost destroy him at Barcelona to get this done. That is morally incorrect, never mind financially. It is morally unacceptable from a player's perspective. And I hope Frenkie de Jong, and I don't know what his decision is going to be, but I hope Frenkie de Jong does not buckle under the pressure of Laporta and his cronies. And we'll see what happens, but I hope he does not buckle. And I know his representatives have been out there, and I hope they're standing firm for this player, because he has a bona fide contract.
What do you think of what Craig's saying there, Luis? Because it's got to be a very uncomfortable situation for Frenkie de Jong.
All this that we are talking about, all this that the press is talking about, I think they have already meetings there, that they have talked, because I saw a very good Frenkie de Jong in the last game. I saw a player who is hungry to play, a player who wants to show that he wants to stay in Barcelona. And when you are in a situation where you are very uncomfortable, you don't like it, you probably the first thing that you do is listen, I'm not going to be involved in the game. Let's try to sort out what is happening out of the situation, talking about the contract, and then we'll talk after. But he was a player who gave 100% 100% during the game, who scored a goal, who looked like he wants to be involved in this squad. I'm not talking just the team, in this squad. And I think that's what they are trying to do. It's true that Laporta is trying to talk with the press. It's true that in Xavi's surrounding, no one is talking. They are all very focused on what they have to do on training and focusing on the first game. It doesn't matter if they are going to have the chance of signing or resign every single player and register them into the league. But the most important is the first game. Focus on that. And I think that they are doing very well. And apart from that, of course, it's not comfortable that everybody's talking about if they are going to be able to register the players or not. But I think they're doing well. The board is trying to work on that. Everybody around, we are just talking. We are trying to guess what is the feeling. We are trying to guess what is going to happen. But I think that for the players' perspective, every one of them, they know. They've been talked. They had a meeting, and they are trying to put everything that happened around apart, and they are trying to focus in on the first game against Rayo Vallecano. That's the most important.
Ale?
Well, that's ideally what's going on, is that, yeah, you're able to separate the performance on the field from whatever is going on behind the scenes. But the truth is, if the team and the club are putting out negativity surrounding Frenkie de Jong, to the point to where now fans feel this negativity and they turn that onto Frenkie de Jong, as we have seen videos of him arriving to training and fans yelling things to him as to take a pay cut, so on and so forth. That negativity on Frenkie de Jong is not only, and Craig just mentioned, is immoral, but it's completely unfair on the player. The player has signed a contract and he is doing his job. He's showing up to training. He's showing up to games. He's not like he's refusing to show up. He's honoring his contract and his responsibility. And now, because of this negativity surrounding Frenkie de Jong, and almost as if the club is pointing the finger at saying, hey, we need this guy to go so that we can make sense of everything else that we've done on the other side, it's impossible for the player not to feel this negativity, and it's impossible for the player to not allow this to affect his mindset and his preparation for games. So while we like to think that things can be kept separate from each other, I don't think that that's the case at all. I think this affects the player. It affects your everyday, and every day that you're driving into training, now you're having to put up with people yelling at you to take a pay cut. Imagine if Frenkie de Jong showed up at somebody else's job to yell at them and say, hey, you take a pay cut. None of these people would, and none of us would take a pay cut. In these circumstances in which they are asking him to say, hey, take less money so that we can spend it somewhere else on other players, no. And I couldn't agree more with Craig. Initially, if I were Frenkie de Jong and I saw what the landscape was, I would have said, it's probably better for me to go elsewhere. But now that you are trying to dig in directly into my wallet, now that you've made it personal, if I'm him, I sit right down and I dig in and I don't go anywhere. Absolutely anywhere. I force you to honor your contract, and I force you as a club to make sure that you sort out your finances before you come on after me and ask me to take a pay cut. No chance. If I'm Frenkie de Jong, I'm digging in.
I have no doubt Frenkie de Jong would leave Barcelona. I mean, in an ideal world, I think he'd want to stay. I've no doubt he would leave, but it's like, pay me what I'm due and we can come to some sort of agreement, because, he's taken this pay cut whenever he did a year or two ago, a deferral, and now it's like, well, you have to make up the remainder of that deferral in my contract, and then we can discuss it with other clubs. As Ali said, it's a bit like a big business telling their workers that they're going to be cut 50% of their wages for 2 years and then they're going to get it all back, and they don't. What are they going to do? I'll just walk all back into work happy? No. They'll be breaking the place down. They'll be hammering the doors down. They'll be smashing the place up because they want their money. It's no different from a player's perspective. Whether you think he's a multimillionaire or not, doesn't matter. It's the principle of a contract. And as I say, it's morally incorrect. Now, Frenkie de Jong has got I've been in not as messy as this, but I've been in situations when I've been leaving the club that it's got a little messy and a little tardy and, a little bit, tight with negotiations and uncomfortable. Frenkie de Jong's got a problem because there's a World Cup in, 3 or 4 months. He's a big player for Holland. if there wasn't a World Cup, he's still young enough, he could sit this out and it wouldn't destroy him. But it depends how much Qatar is in his mind and how much he will play if, indeed, he doesn't move on and Xavi tries to play him and the hierarchy say, no, you can't, just trying to mess with the guy's head. I don't know. It's going to be a big call for him. This is a big game of bluff now, and if he wants to sit tight, okay, he can. And he's holding the cards here. From a financial perspective, he's holding the cards, because at some point Barcelona will have to honour this contract. But from a football perspective, it could be problematic for him. So he and only he and his representatives can make that decision.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.